Welcome to Priviso Live, your weekly dose of ICT legislation, risk, information security, and AI news. I'm Lynn, and with me, as always, are my fellow hosts, Stephen and John. And boys, we've reached 50 episodes.
Well, you, more than anyone, Lynn. John and I just joined along the way. Good morning, all.
In fact, some of us later than others. Well done, Lynn, and hello to our listeners.
Thank you, gentlemen. In this episode, we're diving deep into some alarming developments that highlight just how dangerous our digital landscape has become. From AI-powered ransomware to violent Facebook marketplace scams, right here in South Africa, we've got a packed show that every business leader and citizen needs to hear. Let's start with a story that shocked South Africans this week. Stephen, tell us about what happened in Midrand.
Thanks, Lynn. On Monday afternoon, what started as a Facebook marketplace car sale turned into a violent shootout between police and criminals. 7 suspects were running a sophisticated scam, luring victims by advertising cars for sale online. But here's the scary part. They weren't just stealing money, they were kidnapping victims and forcing them to withdraw large sums from their bank accounts.
This isn't an isolated incident, is it?
Not at all. We've seen a sharp rise in Facebook marketplace robberies across South Africa. What makes this especially dangerous is how they've exploited trust. People expect Facebook to be safer than meeting a complete stranger, but criminals are taking advantage of that false sense of security.
From a legal perspective, this highlights a massive gap in our regulatory framework. These platforms operate under international jurisdiction, but the crimes are happening on South African soil. Our current legislation struggles to keep pace with how these digital platforms can be exploited. What should our listeners do to protect themselves?
3 critical rules. First, always meet at a police station. Most stations now have designated safe trading zones. Second, never go alone. And third, trust your instincts. If a deal seems too good to be true, walk away. The Midrand case shows these criminals are armed and desperate.
Before we proceed, I want to emphasize that this isn't just about individual safety. For businesses using online platforms for procurement or sales, you need strong verification processes. The trust mechanisms we relied on 5 years ago simply no longer work. Speaking of evolving threats, John, tell us about this AI-powered ransomware that was just discovered.
Cybersecurity firm ESET has identified the first known AI-powered ransomware called PromptLock. It uses OpenAI's GPT-OSS 20B model to generate malicious code in real time, making it incredibly difficult to detect and defend against.
What makes this so dangerous is the variability. Traditional ransomware has signatures, patterns that security software can recognize, but PromptLock generates different code each time it runs. It's like fighting an enemy that changes its appearance every few minutes.
How does it actually work?
The malware connects to an AI model locally and uses prompts to generate Lua scripts that can enumerate your file system, steal data, and encrypt your files. But here's the sophisticated part. It customizes its ransom note based on what it finds. If it infects a personal computer, it writes one type of note. If it hits a company server or even a power distribution controller, it adapts accordingly.
From a South African perspective, this is particularly concerning because our cybersecurity infrastructure is already under strain. Many of our businesses, especially SMEs, don't have the advanced threat detection systems needed to identify this type of adaptive malware.
What's the connection to South Africa specifically?
While the malware was uploaded to analysis systems from the United States, these threats don't respect borders. South African businesses are already prime targets for ransomware attacks, as Stephen discusses in more detail later, because our cyber resilience varies dramatically across sectors. Manufacturing, healthcare, financial services, they're all vulnerable. And now they're facing AI that can adapt faster than their defenses.
The scary part is that this appears to be just a proof of concept. We're looking at the first generation of AI-powered malware. As these AI models become more sophisticated and accessible, we can expect to see more advanced versions that could potentially destroy data entirely, not just encrypt it.
What should businesses be doing right now?
3 immediate actions. First, assume your current security measures are inadequate and audit them immediately. Second, implement behavioral analysis tools that can detect unusual system activity rather than just looking for known malware signatures. Third, develop incident response plans that assume AI adaptive threats. It can be helpful to retain access to specialists familiar with these attacks and the mechanisms to recover from them.
And backup strategies need to evolve. Traditional backup and recovery assumes you're dealing with predictable attacks. With AI-generated malware, you need isolated version backups with rapid recovery capabilities.
You know, when I read about this, it seemed to me that XDR should contain the risk, but it turns out I was only partly correct. Because new code is being generated with each attack, it undermines XDR's ability to detect it, although XDR may isolate compromised devices.
Let's shift to some positive news. Standard Bank has just launched virtual credit cards with full fraud refunds.
It's a significant step forward, but with important caveats. Standard Bank is offering 100% refunds to victims of fraud who use their virtual credit cards, addressing one of the biggest barriers to online shopping: the fear of financial loss from fraud.
How do virtual credit cards work exactly?
They generate temporary card numbers for online transactions, so your actual credit card details are never shared with merchants. If a fraudster obtains a virtual card number, it becomes useless for future transactions. It's like having a self-destructing credit card for each purchase. A one-time card, if you will.
But there's a crucial legal detail here. The 100% refund promise comes with conditions. Customers still have an obligation to protect their information. If you willingly share your details or fall for a phishing scam, the bank can still hold you liable.
What does this mean for the broader South African market?
It's part of a necessary evolution. South African banks are finally recognizing that customer confidence in digital payments is essential for the growth of our digital economy. But Standard Bank isn't doing this out of generosity. They're responding to fraud losses that were eating into their profits.
From a regulatory perspective, this might pressure other banks to follow suit. We can expect to see similar offerings from FNB, Nedbank, and ABSA within the next 12 months. The concern is whether smaller banks and credit providers will be able to keep up with these security investments.
Are there risks for consumers?
The biggest risk is complacency. Virtual credit cards are excellent technology, but they don't protect against all types of fraud. Social engineering and identity theft can still compromise your accounts. This technology addresses transaction security, but not authentication security.
And there's a behavioral risk. If consumers become overly confident due to fraud protection, they may become less vigilant about suspicious websites, phishing emails, or social engineering attempts. Security is still a shared responsibility.
John, let's look at the broader African continent. I understand there have been significant developments in cyber law recently.
We are witnessing a surge in cybercrime legislation across Africa. Zambia just passed comprehensive cyber laws that tech experts are calling progressive, and Somalia has approved a new cybercrime bill. This reflects a continent-wide recognition that cybersecurity can't be an afterthought.
Zambia's new laws are notable for striking a balance between enforcement needs and digital rights protections. They have established frameworks for cross-border cooperation while ensuring the safeguarding of citizens' privacy. Somalia's approach is more focused on immediate threats, but it remains a significant step forward for a country rebuilding its institutions.
What's encouraging is that these countries are learning from each other's mistakes. South Africa's implementation of the Papaya Act demonstrated the challenges associated with privacy legislation. These newer laws seem to have incorporated those lessons.
What does this mean for businesses operating across African markets?
Compliance is becoming extremely complex. A South African company operating in Zambia and Somalia must now navigate 3 different cybersecurity and data protection frameworks. This increases the demand for continental harmonization of cyber law, similar to what we've seen in Europe with GDPR.
From a practical security perspective, it's actually positive. Countries with strong cyber laws tend to have better incident reporting, which helps the entire region understand threat patterns. When Ghana suffered major ransomware attacks last year, its detailed reporting helped other African countries prepare better defenses.
Any advice for businesses?
Start preparing now. Don't wait for these laws to affect your immediate operations. African digital integration is accelerating, and companies that proactively adopt best practices will have competitive advantages as markets open up.
And finally, Stephen, you have something to share.
I do, thanks, Lynn. I don't know if our listeners are familiar with Ransomware Live, an open-source website tracking known ransomware attacks, including victims and statistics.
I know the site. It's one of those I look at weekly.
It sounds like it's delivering a valuable service. What are you finding, Stephen?
Well, firstly, a casual look at the numbers. The August numbers for 3 years. In 2023, 3,403. In 2024, 3,795, an 11% increase. But in 2025, 5,105. That's a year-on-year increase of 34%. That's a greater than geometric growth.
That's troubling. Driven, I imagine, by technology as much as anything else, thinking about the AI-driven attack we mentioned earlier.
Amongst other things, I imagine, but I can see that being a factor.
This is what caught my eye, though. The Checkpoint Global Threat Intelligence Report reports that South Africa suffers 2,113 cyber attacks per organization per week.
And let's face it, we have seen major South African companies affected this year. MTN, ABSA, Netstar, SAA, Cell C, and the South African Treasury. In short, it's easy to be complacent when in fact the risk is increasing daily.
Agreed. As we wrap up today's show, I want to step back and look at the bigger picture. Stephen, what patterns are you seeing?
We're witnessing the convergence of 3 major trends: AI-powered attacks, exploitation of social platforms, and increasingly sophisticated financial crimes. What happened in Midran isn't separate from AI ransomware. They're part of the same ecosystem where criminals are using technology to scale their operations and reduce their risks.
From a policy perspective, we're also seeing a recognition that cybersecurity is national security. The legal frameworks being developed across Africa aren't just about protecting businesses and individuals. They are also about safeguarding critical infrastructure and democratic institutions.
What should our listeners be thinking about for the next 6 months?
Assume that current threats are only the start. AI-driven attacks will grow more frequent and sophisticated. Exploitation of social platforms will extend beyond Facebook to WhatsApp Business, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Additionally, financial crimes will increasingly undermine the trust mechanisms we depend on for digital commerce.
And remember that security isn't just a technical challenge, it's a human one. The most sophisticated AI attack can be thwarted by an alert user who notices suspicious behavior. However, even the most advanced security system can be undermined by a single employee falling for a social engineering attack.
Any final thoughts?
For businesses, audit your security assumptions regularly. For individuals, trust your instincts and verify independently. For policymakers, stay up to date with technology. Criminals certainly are.
And remember that cybersecurity is ultimately about preserving the benefits of digital transformation while managing its risks. We can't retreat from technology, but we must engage with it intelligently.
That's all for the 50th episode of Priviso Live. It has been an instructional journey so far. Thank you to Stephen and John for their insights, and thank you to our listeners.
If you want to hear more of the same, subscribe to Priviso Live on Apple, Samsung, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or YouTube.
And if you need security, risk, or ICT legislation advice, contact Priviso Consulting directly at admin@priviso.co.za. Stay safe, everyone.